To get started on your Australian Aboriginal inspired dot paintings, you'll need to use a white crayon or colored pencil to write your name and homeroom code on the back of your black paper. For each of our dot paintings, we're going to be including at least one Australian animal. In your seesaw link, there are different photos of outlines of different Australian animals that you can look at to draw from. I have different colored papers that you can draw your animal nice and large on, and we will cut it out and glue it into the center or off to the side on your black paper. This is going to be included within your dot painting. I chose to do a bird, and I'm going to very carefully draw it out on my colored paper, and then I'll cut it out and glue it down on my black paper. You can choose to put your animal in the center of your paper, or if you are going to include more symbols in your work, then you can set it off to the side. It's really up to you wherever you want your animal to lay. I chose to lay my bird off to the side, and then I wanted to look at the different symbols from the Australian Aborigines that are included in the seesaw link. I chose to add 3 symbols in addition to my animal on my paper. Just very carefully sketch out your symbol using your pencil, nice and light, and then we can get started painting. I'm going to be using these wooden sticks to add color for our dot paintings. The stick have a pointy end and they have a flat end. I'd like you to start with your flat end and it will make larger dots. Keep in mind that you're going to have to take your time and be patient for this project. Every single time I dip in the paint, I will dot it on my paper and then go back for another dip. You only want to get a very small amount at a time, because if you dip in too far, it's just going to waste the paint by going too far up your wooden stick, and it won't actually get onto your paper. The more paint you have on the very tip and the harder you press, the larger your dot will be, and the lighter you touch your paper, the smaller your dot will be. Just like how when we use paintbrushes, we need to wash in between colors, we need to do the same thing for our wooden sticks. I tried to wet the end of mine and then dry it off on a paper towel, and it just sort of made a mess. I would recommend just trying to dry the paint off of the end of your stick as best as possible before dipping in your next color. If it starts to get too muddy, you can wet it first, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. As you work, you can use all different colors, you can use all the same color on different symbols, you can create patterns. I would recommend that you work on your symbols first, and then we can begin outlining the symbols and your animal using the same colors to make a consistent background. Remember that while you're working, you can play around with pushing on your paper lightly or more heavy to create bigger or smaller dots. Once your symbols are completed, then you can work on beginning to outline using other colors. I recommend using colors that you didn't use in your symbols, just so that your symbols pop out really nicely at the end. I'm going to start by going around my animal and all of my symbols with the same color. After I'm done that color, I'm going to move on to another color and create a pattern to fill in my background. You guys can choose to do this, or you can use all the colors. Again, it is up to you what colors you use in your design. As you work, you're going to start bumping into other lines. Just keep going. If you go off the edge, just pretend like that line continues. And once your entire page is filled up, then you'll be ready to add details on your animal if you'd like to. Adding details to my animal, I wanted to use smaller dots, so I decided to use the pointy end of the stick instead of the flat end. I'm going to go around and create a border of just small white dots. Then I'm going to leave an empty space and create another line of white dots and start filling it in with different blues. You guys, again, can decorate your animal any way you want. Fill it up with dots. I think that the contrast of small dots on our animal and big dots in our background really help it stand out. But again, it's your artwork and you can create it any way you'd like.